What's going on, you guys? We are back with another video. Finally, I know it's been a while, but today we are working on the Honda. I've actually already done some stuff to it. I guess I'll give you guys a rundown real quick of the things that I've changed off camera. So the main thing would be these FFC, the Fat 4 Customs extended top hats. It's supposed to give you about they're supposed to be extended about 1.25 inches, I believe it said. But I did notice that the bushings that came with them, they were nice bushings, but they were really thick. So I actually used the bushings from, man, it looks like a mess in here. But I actually used the bushings from the other top hats, which were like almost half the thickness of the ones that came with these top hats. So I believe that it should be a little bit more than 1.25 inches. Now with that, I'd say 1.5 inches maybe. Who's really counting? But yeah, I got those on. So my suspension has preload in it again, so it's not bouncy anymore. It's still a little soft, I'd say, because I can hear, like, if I hit a nice bump, I can hear my upper control arms hitting the strut tower if I hit a nice bump. So probably gonna up the preload a little bit more. I'm also waiting to get the MPC drop forks as well. Those are supposed to drop the car like 2 inches, which should be perfect because the ride height, you can't really see it, but the fender's probably sitting about here on the tire, front and back, I'd say. So I want to get it a little bit lower than that. I'm ordering smaller tires here soon, mainly because I want to have the rim and the fender flush, right? But I can't really do it with these tires because they're all, square and whatnot, especially at the height that I want it at. So I'm gonna get a little stretch on there, a little bit, nothing crazy, just so that it'll clear the fender and I can get it at the height that I want it. And then once I get those drop forks, I can also up the preload a lot more in this front suspension to make it ride a little bit more stiff while still being, at the height that I want to be, because right now it's a little too high, in my opinion. I'll probably change my mind later after I beat myself up with a lowered car again. But yeah, I got that done. I also got this bug deflector for the hood from a buddy. He had it for his car, but he's actually getting rid of his now because he wants a different shell. So he started selling me some parts. He sold me that along with these side garnishes, these JDM side garnishes. The side garnishes, the USDM ones are just blank. It's just a big old blank piece. The JDM ones say port on it. Little thing, nothing crazy, but adds a little something. I know the car needs plenty of work before I start adding little trinkets like that. But I also got these side markers here, the clear side markers. I don't know, pretty sure in the last video they were red, but I changed these actually a while ago. Along with the LEDs, the RGB LEDs in that, and the third brake light. I've noticed that I can change this third brake light to red, right? And if I turn off the car or whatever, turn off the lights and turn it back on, it'll still be red. These, however, when I change these red, if I turn off the car or turn off the lights, they revert back to white. So I have to change them to red again pretty much every time I turn them on. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but it's no huge deal. I don't think it's a problem to have white lights on the side here, if I'm in a rush, or if I'm not in a rush, I could just get out and change them every time. Might get a little annoying, but it is what it is for now. yeah, I think that's pretty much all the little things that I've done. Oh, I did do spark plugs, wires, distributor cap on this about a week ago maybe, because it was having, I don't know, it was hesitating. Like it just felt like the car was struggling to move forward a lot. So I figured, you know, let me do a tune-up. I haven't done a tune-up since I purchased this car, so figured that might solve the issue. It didn't, but they're new now, so there's that. Also got a new battery because the other battery randomly just drained one time, and my girl was driving this car at the time, so I didn't even want to take any chances of just, you know, trying to recharge this one and leave her stranded somewhere else. So I also replaced the battery. And what we're doing today is, I mean, you can probably already see what I've got going on there. I have purchased some headers. So these are some eBay, like $70 headers that I just purchased. Funny thing, I've been looking for headers for this car for the longest, and these weren't on eBay for I don't know how long. Like, they were on eBay at one point when I had my last Accord, which was like 5 years ago, but I never ordered them then because I didn't really want it. So I was just kind of like, you know what I mean? So I got this car and I went back on there to try to find them, and they didn't have headers on eBay anymore for these Accords. So I was kind of like, damn, I should have bought it back then. But then again, if I would have bought it back then, I probably would have just left it on the car and sold it with the car anyways. So I guess it really doesn't matter. But I found a place that was selling headers, some random site on it was just a Google search I did, and I found a place that was selling them for like $80, I think. And I was like, okay, you know what I'm saying? But I never heard of the place that it was, you know, I was gonna purchase it from, so I kind of was hesitant, and I just kind of left it alone. And then a buddy of mine, the same buddy that gave me those pieces, put it in our little group chat or whatever that eBay had headers again for these cars, so I ordered them on the spot. And the reason for these headers aren't necessarily, I mean, honestly, I probably would have bought them anyways, but I believe that the catalytic converter is clogged on this car, somewhere along there. I'm not sure if the cat is even in the headers for this, but whatever. I believe it is. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken though. It might not be in there. I don't know. Maybe I just did this for no reason. But anyways, swapping those out for some much nicer ones. So hopefully it'll look better. Hopefully it'll feel better. That's my main thing. I'm not looking for it to be fast. I just want it to actually feel like it wants to move, because right now it's just kind of, it feels, I don't know. It feels like it's being asphyxiated. That makes sense. Like it's choking. Like, especially at low RPMs, like the torque is just not there, and then the whole car just kind of shakes like it's, you know, trembling. So hopefully this fixes this, or helps it out at least. Like I said, I'm pretty sure the cat is in the headers. This could be my Celica that I'm thinking about, because my Celica has the cat in the headers. I didn't really check. I just kind of ordered them, and I'm gonna replace them regardless if they're in there or not. So yeah, let's get to it. I already started taking it apart. As you can see, it was not going well. I broke every single one of those bolts for the heat shield. All three of them broke, so that wasn't looking too good. But I PB blasted all the rest of these nuts here. I PB blasted those 3 nuts that hold on the bottom half of this, and I PB blasted that nut for that little, or that bolt for that little bracket there. And I've cracked all of these loose, which is nice. So they all moved, and none of them seized, and none of them were pulling out the stud, or as far as I can see, none of them was pulling out the stud with the nut. I haven't cracked those loose yet, but we're gonna get to that in just a second. I'm probably gonna throw you guys on a time lapse as I do some of this, or I might just do it and then come back and let you guys know what's going on. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Maybe I'll time lapse it towards the end. Let's get to it. Okay guys, here we are. I got the stock manifold off. It actually wasn't that bad. It wasn't as rusty as the 3 bolts for the heat shield. They all came out pretty nice. So now, as you can see, this has a, I'm trying to do this quick because my camera's about to die. But as you can see, this has like a little extra, little short piece right there for the O2 sensor. So I took it all off completely. I wasn't sure if it was the same length as this piece with that little addition on there or without it. So I just took it all off together. I figured it'd be easier to just pop that off if I needed to. I already cracked those bolts loose too. So yeah, so that's out. Now I'm gonna get ready to try not and touch this too much, because as you may know, this if you touch this with like greasy hands or whatnot, when the car warms up and it gets hot, you'll see the fingerprints kind of like burned into the manifold or to the piping there. So I'm gonna try not to touch it. I changed my gloves, or I took all my old gloves already, so that when I touch these ones, it doesn't get all nasty and whatnot. And then I'm gonna try and probably wipe it down as well before I start it up, just to make sure, you know, whatever I have is cleaned off, or I guess smeared all the way across it so it'll look even. But yeah, I don't think there's a cat in here. I could be wrong, but I don't think there's a cat in there, because I have the one O2, well, all pre-96 cars have one O2 sensor, or most of them, or a lot of them, I don't know. But this one has only one O2 sensor. So I don't think that was the cat. So I'm not expecting this to really make the car feel any different, but it'll look nicer. And eventually I'll start cleaning up the bay. I haven't done anything to this bay to make it look any nicer than it does. This is exactly how I got it, pretty much, minus the new battery and, you know, the coilover top hats, but everything else is exactly the same. So eventually I want to paint the valve cover, clean up some of this wiring. That's a little thing that I'll talk about another time. Yeah, but clean up some of this wiring, get rid of this intake because it's like torn in like 4 spots, like huge tears. Like that one is like almost not even connected. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, I'm gonna go start putting this back on. I kind of wish that I had some heat wrap to put around this, but I hate dealing with that because it gets you all itchy and stuff if you if you touch it with your bare skin and whatnot. So I guess screw that. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and throw this camera on charge. Well, it's my phone. Throw it on charge and put this new stuff back in. So I got part of the headers on. I'm about to put on that piece right there. I have the top portion on. It's not, they're just, the nuts are just started. They're not tightened yet. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a quick update. I put the 3 new studs in this lower portion that's gonna connect to here. These 3 bolts there. Swap the O2 sensor over. Yeah, I mean, it's just those 3 bolts for the top half, 2 bolts for the bottom. Plug in the O2 sensor and then tighten up these bolts and we should be golden. Very simple process. I was gonna try and take this all out as one piece, but I was like, let me see if I can get these 3 bolts off first, because I thought they were gonna be solid, and they all came loose. So definitely easier to take it off in 2 pieces for sure. I didn't even try to take it off in 1 piece because I mean, there's no space. This top portion is not going down there, you know. And then that long bottom portion probably was not gonna come up through here. So yeah, I guess it's kind of the only way to take it off is in 2 pieces. But smooth sailing, honestly. I've been out here for maybe an hour and a half, but I was on the phone for a large amount of that, so I wasn't really like working. Honestly, after doing it, this is probably like if you're in a rush, if I was running, I probably could have got this done in like 30 minutes or so, or less. But it's my day off, so I'm just kind of chilling. But yeah, next clip you'll see is probably of it running. I'm gonna go and jam that up in there real quick, bolt everything up, make sure everything's there, and then we can go for a test drive. All right, so you guys, I have finished the install. And I actually did it without like touching anything here. Everything's all tight. I think it sound kind of weird, but everything's all tight. Nothing really happened. The only thing I didn't like about these headers is that they have, for those 3 bolts there, so this top manifold piece is threaded, and those are studs. So you put the studs in and you put the bolts or the nuts on top of them to sandwich these 2 pieces together. The only thing with that is that when I did that, I threaded the studs into the manifold and put them down through, and then as I was putting the nuts on, I noticed that the nuts had a little bit more resistance. I mean, it wasn't really resistance because I could still spin it on by hand, but it was looser, or it was less resistance in the threads in the manifold than there were in the nuts. So when I started the nuts and then hit it with the gun, it kind of ran the stud all the way through the manifold piece. You can see this one's sticking out a little bit. It ran it all the way through, and then the nut only had like 1 thread like holding it on. So that was a little weird. So what I ended up having to do was I just put the nuts on the threads until the stud was like flush at the top of the nut, and then I put the nuts and the stud combination up and through the manifold so that they can have the same amount of bite in the upper manifold piece and on the nuts. So I would have changed those to bolts. That would have been nicer if it were just bolts. It would have been a lot easier. I would have gotten some, but you know, I didn't want to go to the store. And this is the only car I have right now. That one's Beamer's kind of, I mean, it drives, but it's broken. That thing never ran. That thing, yeah. So I am pretty much done. I just want to show you guys underneath. That's why I haven't let it down yet, so you guys can see what's going on under there too. So, as you can see, there's really nothing to it after you get those studs in, or those nuts in right there. Okay, the only 2 you have is this to connect to the rest of the exhaust, and the O2 sensor there, which I have reconnected. And good thing I came to show you guys this. I forgot to hook those hangers back up, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that and put the car on the floor, and we should be ready to spin the block. All right, I've got it all tightened up. Car's on the floor, so here's gonna be the first start. Drive. I'm not really expecting to feel or hear anything really. Also my I believe I have I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but since I got the car, the transmission's been making this really like kind of growling noise, I've noticed. But let me turn AC on. But yeah, it's it made like this growling noise when I first got it, and at first I was kind of like, what the heck? There's no sounds like there's no fluid in this transmission, but I took the drained the fluid, and it was full, or close to it at least. The fluid looked new, so I'm assuming that because the axle seals they are leaking. That's one thing. I changed both axles already, but I didn't change the axle seals. I forgot to order them, so I think I have them in my garage now. I don't want to take out my axles to change those seals. You know what I mean? Even because both axles have already been changed or whatever. Oops. Yeah. So transmission's been making this noise. Really kind of nasty growling noise. It wasn't the fluid, because I topped off the fluid and it's still making the noise. And the clutch was slipping when I first got the car, and I changed the clutch. Clutch is brand new, pressure plate's brand new, throttle bearings brand new, pilot bushings brand new. All this stuff is brand new. So the last thing that it could be is something in the transmission, and I don't think it's any of the synchros and stuff, because this car has never grinded any gears. I've never really missed any gears, except for when my clutch pedal, it wasn't adjusted properly, so it engaged really low. So I don't think it was disengaging fully when I pressed the clutch in before. So I think that was why it wasn't going. It didn't want to change gears then. So I fixed that. Haven't had an issue with that since. So I'm assuming transmission bearings or one of the bearings at least in the transmission are pretty cooked. So eventually I'd like to get the transmission rebuilt, but as of right now it's not giving me any problem. Literally the only problem is it makes noise. It's loud. So leaving that alone for now. But other than that, I don't hear any difference. It doesn't sound any louder. Again, I thought the catalytic converter was in that front section of the manifold. It was not. So I'm not expecting it to be any louder or anything, but we're gonna go ahead and do a pull here as soon as this light turns green, just to see if anything changed, which I doubt. But let's turn the AC off, you know what I'm saying, gain that horsepower back, and let's see what it do. Still can't shift. That wasn't me though, I don't think, at least. I'll try that again here. This dude's kind of been on my ass, so I'm gonna wait till we get up here where this goes into 2 lanes. I mean, I don't feel any difference as of yet. I don't hear any difference. It probably made 0 difference, but they're on there. Next thing on the list is to actually cut the cat out, because it's directly after the headers, so cut that out. I was thinking of just, street piping it, or not street piping the car, but just taking the cat out and just put a piece of pipe instead of putting another cat or something. But I don't want this car to be loud necessarily. I would like for it to make some noise, but not loud, just enough, you know what I mean? So like when I'm accelerating and stuff, I feel like I'm doing something. But yeah, man, I mean, that's pretty much it, man. Successful install. There was a rattling noise when I first started it up. I don't know if you can hear it in the footage, but it was there's an O2 sensor bung up on top that's not used for this car, because this car only has one O2 sensor, but there's 2 O2 sensors bungs on the actual header itself. So I have my O2 sensor in the upper one, there's none there, so I didn't tighten that bolt down in that hole, so it was rattling, and I was like, for a second I was confused because I was like, I know I tightened everything. You know what I mean? Like the bolts to bolt it up to the exhaust and to the engine. I was like, I know I tightened those, so it's like, what's that rattling? But yeah, tighten that up. Everything's fine. Everything's golden. I've got a check engine light right now. Oh, actually, I didn't show you guys this here. Need this switch here. Since this is an OBD1 car, to do the to check the codes and stuff, you have to jumper these two connections to get the check engine light to flash, and then you got to count the flashes and stuff. I'm sure you guys probably already know. But I ran, instead of having, I have this little thing here. It's a little jumper that I made, that little blue wire there, specifically for that, just in case when my check engine light comes on, I can see what it is right then and there, because it'll come on sometimes and then you turn off and turn on the car and it's gone, and it won't come back for like a week or whatever, and then it'll come back. So I ran a switch to those two wires and jumped it. So now all I have to do is flip that on and check engine light will stop flashing. I'm sure a million people have done this already, but I was like, you know, why don't I make it easier on myself, you know what I mean? So now I can just count the flashes and, you know, leave that switch on as long as I want to count the flashes, and then when I'm done, flip it back off. Nice and simple. So I'm gonna run these codes, or run this code and see if it's something that I've just been having, because I've been having a code 12 every time that I've checked it lately. Let's see, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. Yeah, so it's still the same, code 12, so that has nothing to do with the work I just did. So that's gonna be the end of this video, you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let's try to, well, I'm being hopeful, but let's try to blow up. Let's try to blow up so I can start doing some crazier stuff. Even, I mean, this is not crazy, but, you know, start doing more fun things, bigger things, grow with the channel. I've had this channel for at least about 10 years now, and I've been putting videos on there like every now and again, just kind of as a photo album type, you know, vibe, so I could see, you know, 10 years ago what I was doing and whatnot, and blah blah blah. So, but it would be definitely dope to be able to do this as a job. That would be sick. I'm not doing nothing crazy, you know what I mean? Right now, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I don't have the space. It's a lot of different, you know, factors that play into this, but hopefully, you know, I don't know, we'll see. But thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.